Rain hammers against the floor-to-ceiling windows of what was once Adrian Blackwood's penthouse office. Now it's just another empty room in a building that no longer belongs to him. He stands motionless, watching water streak down glass like tears he refuses to shed. The silence is deafening, no phones ringing, no assistants bustling, no empire humming beneath his feet. I brought coffee. The voice cuts through his numbness like a blade. He doesn't turn around. He knows exactly who it is, the one person who shouldn't be here, who has every reason to celebrate his destruction. Maya. Her name tastes foreign on his tongue after 3 years of careful avoidance. Black. 2 sugars. Her heels click across, marble as she approaches. Though I suppose you can't afford sugar anymore. Now he turns. Maya Chen stands 5 feet away holding 2 steaming cups, her dark eyes unreadable. She's changed, sharper somehow, more beautiful in her severity. The girl whose family bakery he'd demolished for a parking lot has become a woman who commands attention without trying. Why are you here? His voice is rougher than he intended. She extends 1 cup toward him. Steam curls between them like incense. Good question. He doesn't take the coffee. Can't. His hands might shake, and Maya Chen has seen enough of his weakness already. The news broke this morning. Betrayal by his closest partners. Criminal charges pending. Assets frozen. 48 hours ago, he was worth billions. Now he can't even afford this coffee she's offering. The vultures have all circled and left, she says, settling into his former chair like she owns it. Maybe she does now. Funny how quickly loyalty evaporates when the money does. If you came here to gloat, I came because... She pauses, studying him over the rim of her cup. Because someone should witness your humanity finally surfacing. The words sting more than any insult. He wants to rage, to show her the cold fury that built his empire. Instead, exhaustion weighs him down like wet concrete. My humanity. He laughs bitterly. That's rich, coming from someone whose life I destroyed. Ruined, she corrects softly. Past tense. We rebuilt. She says we with such quiet pride that something twists in his chest. Of course they rebuilt. Maya never knew how to surrender. He'd learned that 3 years ago when she'd fought him with everything she had, even knowing she'd lose. Thunder rolls overhead. The storm is getting worse. Your father, he begins, is fine. Her tone sharpens. No thanks to you, but fine. Silence stretches between them, heavy with history. He remembers her that day, standing in the ruins of her family's bakery. Flour, still dusting her clothes, tears she wouldn't let fall turning her eyes to glass. He'd felt something then. A flicker of regret, maybe even shame. But he'd buried it under necessity and profit margins. Now that buried feeling resurfaces, raw and unfamiliar. You hate me, he says. It's not a question. Maya sets down her cup with deliberate precision. I did. Did. Past tense. She rises, moves to the window beside him. Close enough that he catches her scent, vanilla and strength, sweetness tempered by steel. It's intoxicating and terrifying. Look at them, she murmurs, nodding toward the street below where people hurry through the rain, umbrellas blooming like black flowers. They're just trying to get home, to people who matter, to lives that mean something beyond stock prices and profit margins. Her shoulder brushes his arm. The contact is electric, unexpected. He should step away, maintain distance, but he can't move, can't breathe. I've never had that, he admits, the words escaping before he can stop them. I know. Her voice is softer now, almost gentle. That's why I'm here. She turns toward him, and suddenly the space between them feels charged, dangerous. Her eyes search his face, looking for something he's not sure he can give. Adrian. His name on her lips sounds different than it did 3 years ago. Less like a curse, more like possibility. The elevator dings behind them. Reality crashes back. Security guards probably come to escort him out. The last remnant of his old life, ending with the same cold efficiency he once prided himself on. Maya glances toward the sound, then back at him. Something shifts in her expression. A decision being made. "Come with me," she says quietly. He stares at her. "What?" "You heard me." She picks up her purse, straightens her shoulders. "Unless you'd rather spend the night in a holding cell when those fraud charges hit." The elevator doors open. 2 security guards step out, looking uncomfortable but determined. Maya extends her hand toward him. "Choose, Adrian. The past or something else." Her fingers are pale against the storm-dark air, steady and sure. Behind her, lightning illuminates the city he once thought he owned. Ahead lies uncertainty, dependence on someone who should despise him. He reaches for her hand. Maya's apartment is nothing like his penthouse was. Warm light spills from table lamps instead of harsh overheads. Books line the walls where his had held awards and acquisition photos. The scent of cinnamon and vanilla hangs in the air. Evidence of the new bakery she's built from the ashes he left behind. "Couch pulls out," she says, not looking at him as she moves through the small space. "Bathroom's down the hall. Coffee maker works if you remember how to use one." He stands dripping on her hardwood floor, expensive suit ruined by rain, watching her create distance between them with bustling efficiency. The woman who'd reached for his hand 20 minutes ago has become a cautious stranger. Maya. She freezes at her kitchen counter, back rigid. "What? Why did you really come today?" Her shoulders rise and fall with a deep breath. When she turns, her composure has cracked slightly, revealing something vulnerable underneath. "Because I know what it feels like to lose everything that matters." The E. Admission hangs between them. He wants to move closer, but her posture warns him away. Instead, he shrugs out of his soaked jacket, letting it fall where he stands. "This is different," he says. "I deserve this." Maybe. She opens a cabinet, pulls out sheets and a pillow. But deserving something and surviving it are 2 different things. She approaches with the bedding, and he catches her wrist gently as she passes. Her pulse jumps under his fingers, rapid, startled. "I'm not a good man, Maya." His voice is rough with honesty. "I've done things. I know what you've done." She doesn't pull away from his touch, but her eyes blaze. "I was there, remember? I watched you tear down my world without blinking." "Then why?" "Because 3 years ago I saw something in your eyes. Just for a second when you looked at what you'd done to us." Her free hand rises, almost touches his chest, then falls away. "You felt it, the wrongness of it. And you buried that feeling so deep, I wondered if it would ever surface again." His thumb moves across her wrist, tracing the delicate bone. Her breath catches. "It never left," he admits. The confession changes everything. The air between them grows thick, charged. Maya's lips part slightly, and he realizes how close they've moved to each other, how the warm light casts shadows across her face, highlighting the curve of her mouth. "Adrian." His name is barely a whisper. He's leaning toward her when she steps, back, pulling free of his grip. The loss of contact is physical pain. "You should shower," she says quickly. "Get warm." But her cheeks are flushed, her breathing unsteady. She felt it too, that pull, that dangerous gravity between them. He nods, not trusting his voice, and heads toward the bathroom. Under the hot spray, he tries to wash away 3 years of mistakes, but they cling to him like smoke. When he emerges, in the borrowed robe she'd left hanging on the door, the apartment is dim except for the kitchen light. Maya sits at her small table, laptop open, fingers flying across keys. She's changed into leggings and an oversized sweater that slips off one shoulder, revealing smooth skin and the curve of her collarbone. The sight hits him like a punch to the solar plexus. "Work?" he asks. "Always." She doesn't look up. "Unlike some people, I can't afford to take breaks. The barb is gentle but pointed. He deserves it." He settles onto the couch, watching her work. She bites her lower lip when she concentrates, tucks a strand of dark hair behind her ear with absent precision. These small intimacies feel more precious than anything he's ever owned. "The bakery," he says finally. Are you happy?" Now she does look up. "You really want to know?" "Yes." She closes the laptop, studies his face for deception. Finding none, she softens slightly. "It's everything the old one was supposed to be: community gathering place, somewhere people feel valued." She pauses. "We name our regular customers' favorites after them. Mrs. Patterson's lavender scones, Tommy's chocolate chip cookies." "You remember them?" "Of course I remember them. They're not just transactions, Adrian. They're people." People. Such a simple word, but the way she says it makes him realize how rarely he'd thought of anyone that way. They'd been obstacles, assets, means to ends. "I want to learn," he says quietly. Maya's eyes widen. "Learn what?" "How to see them. The way you do." She stares at him for a long moment, something shifting in her expression. Then she rises, moves to the couch, sits beside him close enough that her knee brushes his thigh. It starts with seeing. "Yourself clearly first," she murmurs. "Without the money, the power, the armor. Just you." Her hand covers his, warm and steady. "Can you do that, Adrian? Can you let me see who you really are?" The question terrifies him more than any business deal ever has. But her touch anchors him, makes him brave. "I don't know who that is anymore." "Then let's find out together." The third morning dawns gray and soft through Maya's curtains. Adrian wakes to the sound of her moving quietly in the kitchen, the ritual of coffee and sunrise that he's begun to crave more than he ever craved success. He finds her by the window, still in her sleep clothes, a thin cotton shirt that reveals the elegant line of her spine, shorts that show legs he tries not to stare at. She's cradling a steaming mug, watching the world wake up below. "Couldn't sleep?" He keeps his voice low, intimate in the early quiet. She turns, and something in her expression steals his breath. Soft, open. The careful walls she's maintained for 3 days have thinned in the vulnerable light of dawn. "I kept thinking," she says. About the night you demolished our bakery. I went back afterward when everyone else had gone home, sat in the rubble until morning." His chest tightens. "Maya, I'm not telling you for pity." She moves closer, drawn by some invisible thread. "I'm telling you because I saw you that night, in the shadows across the street, watching." The memory hits him like cold water. Yes, he'd gone back. Couldn't explain why. Couldn't justify the compulsion that dragged him from his penthouse bed to stand witness to his own destruction. "You were crying," she continues, now close enough that he can see gold flecks in her dark eyes. "I thought I was imagining it." The great Adrian Blackwood showing emotion over a little family business. "I wasn't." He stops. The lie won't come. "I was." Why? The simple question unravels him. He sets down his coffee with shaking hands, turns away from her knowing gaze. "Because I remembered being 7 years old, pressed against the window of a bakery just like yours. My mother counting coins, deciding we couldn't afford the birthday cake I wanted." His voice cracks. "And I realized I'd become the man who would deny that cake to some other child." Silence. Then the whisper of bare feet across hardwood, the warmth of Maya's presence behind him. "Adrian?" Her hand touches his back, light as air. Look at me. He turns, and she's so close he can see the flutter of her pulse at her throat, feel the heat radiating from her skin. Her eyes are bright with unshed tears. That little boy, she whispers. He's still in there, isn't he? Wanting to be seen, to matter for something other than what he can take. Her palm flattens against his chest, right over his heart. The touch burns through the thin fabric of his borrowed shirt, brands him with possibility, Maya. Her name is a prayer, a question, a plea. I see you, she breathes. Finally, I see you. The words break something open inside him. 3 years of buried guilt, decades of loneliness, lifetimes of building walls. All of it crumbles under the gentle pressure of her recognition. He reaches up, cups her face in his hands. Her skin is silk and warmth, more precious than anything he's ever touched. I don't deserve this, he murmurs. Don't deserve you. Deserve has nothing to do with it. Her thumb traces his jaw, exploring the stubble, the harsh lines that wealth and power carved into his features. This is choice. My choice. She rises on her toes, and he meets her halfway. The kiss is soft at first, tentative, like two people learning a new language. Then she sighs against his mouth, and something primal awakens between them. His arms circle her waist, pulling her closer. She tastes like coffee and forgiveness, like hope he'd forgotten how to feel. Her fingers tangle in his hair, and he groans, low in his throat. Adrian. His name becomes a gasp as his lips find the sensitive spot where her neck meets her shoulder. She arches against him, and he can feel her heartbeat racing to match his own. The rational part of his mind screams warnings, too fast, too complicated, too dangerous for both of them. But her touch silences every doubt, makes him believe in redemption, in second chances, in the impossible alchemy of hatred transformed to something deeper. We can't, she starts, even as her body contradicts every word. I know. But he doesn't pull away. Can't bear to lose the sweet torture of her. In his arms, her phone buzzes insistently on the counter, shattering the moment, the sound of the real world intruding, reminding them both of all the reasons this is complicated. Maya steps back, breathing hard, lips swollen from his kisses. That's probably the bakery. I have to... I know. But she doesn't move toward the phone. Instead, she stares at him with wonder and something that looks like fear. This changes everything, she whispers. Everything, he agrees. The phone stops buzzing, then starts again immediately. Emergency, crisis, the demands of her rebuilt life calling her back from this impossible moment. Tonight, she says suddenly, fiercely, when I get home, we need to talk. Really talk. He nods, not trusting his voice. She moves toward the counter, then stops, looks back at him with eyes full of promise and uncertainty. Don't leave, Adrian. Whatever happens today, whatever doubts creep in, don't leave. I won't, he promises, and means it with every broken piece of his soul. She smiles, brilliant and tremulous, then grabs her phone and disappears into her bedroom. Adrian stands alone in the morning light, touching his lips where she kissed him, feeling something like hope bloom in his chest for the first time in his life. Maya returns home as the sun sets, painting her apartment in shades of amber and rose. Adrian has spent the day walking the city without money, without identity, discovering what it means to be invisible. The experience stripped away another layer of his old self, left him raw and strangely grateful. She finds him at her kitchen table, newspaper spread before him, circling job listings with a pencil stub. Any luck? She asks, setting down grocery bags with deliberate casualness, but he catches the way her eyes linger on his face, the careful space she maintains between them. A few possibilities. He gestures to the marked pages. Nothing that pays well, but honest work. Things that might matter to someone other than shareholders. She stills, studying him with that penetrating gaze that sees too much. You're serious. Dead serious. He rises, moves closer, despite the warning tension in her shoulders. You asked me to find out who I am without the armor. This is part of it. The afternoon light catches in her dark hair as she unpacks groceries. Simple things. Eggs and bread, and fresh vegetables that speak of meals shared, of the domestic intimacy he's never known. Watching her moves something deep in his chest, a longing so profound it steals his breath. Maya. Her name emerges rough with want. She turns, and the space between them crackles with unfinished business from the morning, with the kiss that changed the fundamental architecture of their relationship. We can't keep pretending this isn't happening, he says quietly. I'm not pretending. She faces him fully, chin raised in challenge. I'm terrified. Of me? Of this? She gestures between them. Of wanting something I swore I'd never want. Of forgetting who you were, are, because of who you might become. He moves closer, drawn by the vulnerability in her voice. And if I'm not becoming? If this is just an elaborate performance to win your sympathy? Fire flashes in her eyes. Is it? No. The word comes without hesitation, without calculation. Pure truth. God help me, no. Something in his tone breaks her resolve. She closes the distance between them, reaches up to trace the line of his jaw with trembling fingers. Show me, she whispers. Show you what? That you mean it. That this isn't just gratitude or desperation, or he silences her with his mouth, pouring 3 days of revelation and longing into the kiss. She responds with matching fire, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer until there's no space left between them. Maya. Her name becomes prayer and promise as his lips trail down her throat. She arches against him, and he lifts her, easily onto the counter, stepping between her legs, losing himself in her soft gasps and the scent of vanilla and heat. I need you to know, he murmurs against her collarbone. This isn't about losing everything else. This is about finding you. Her hands frame his face, forcing him to meet her eyes. Prove it. The challenge in her voice ignites something primal in him. He captures her mouth again, deeper this time, demanding and receiving surrender in equal measure. Her legs wrap around his waist, and he groans at the perfect fit of her against him. Bedroom! She gasps against his ear, and the word sends fire through his veins. He carries her there, and she laughs, breathless and surprised and beautiful, as he navigates the narrow hallway without breaking contact with her mouth. In the soft light filtering through her curtains, she becomes luminous, a vision he wants to memorize with every sense. Are you sure? He forces himself to ask, even as every cell in his body screams for her. Her answer is to pull him down to her, to whisper yes against his lips with such conviction that his last defenses crumble. What follows transcends the physical, becomes something deeper, recognition, acceptance, the merging of two souls who found each other in the wreckage of everything they thought they knew. He worships her with touch and whispered promises, and she responds with a generosity that humbles him, that shows him what love might feel like when it's freely given instead of bought or taken. Later, as they lie tangled in sheets and moonlight, her head on his chest, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her bare shoulder, she speaks into the darkness. I've never hated anyone the way I hated you. Her words should sting, but delivered in this moment, with this new intimacy between them, they feel like benediction. And now? He asks, barely breathing. She lifts her head, meets his eyes in the silver light. Now I'm falling in love with you, the real you, and it terrifies me more than hatred ever did. The confession breaks him open completely. He captures her face in his hands, kisses her with reverence and promise. I love you, he whispers against her lips. I didn't know I was capable of it, but Maya, I love you with everything I am, everything I'm becoming. Tears shine in her eyes. diamond bright. We can't go back from this. I don't want to go back. I want to go forward. With you. She settles against him again, and in the quiet that follows, he feels the last of his old self slip away, replaced by something infinitely more valuable. A man worthy of the woman in his arms. A future built on love instead of conquest. What happens now? She murmurs sleepily. Now, he says, we build something beautiful. 6 months later, Maya finds Adrian in the pre-dawn darkness of their newly opened cafe, flour dusting his forearms as he shapes croissants with the patience she's taught him. Sunlight slants through windows, illuminating the man she barely recognizes as the ruthless billionaire who once destroyed her family's dreams. You're up early, she says, wrapping her arms around his waist from behind, pressing her face between his shoulder blades. Couldn't sleep. His voice carries the warm roughness of morning. Wanted everything perfect for opening day. She turns him in her arms, studying the face that's become dearer to her than breathing. The harsh lines Wealth carved have softened into something more human. His eyes, once cold as winter steel, now hold warmth that makes her heart skip. It's already perfect, she murmurs, reaching up to dust flour from his cheek. Their cafe, Maya and Adrian's, spreads around them like a manifestation of shared dreams. Mismatched tables rescued from estate sales, art from local students covering brick walls. A community bulletin board already heavy with job postings, apartment shares, and invitations to book clubs and yoga classes. Nothing like the sterile empire he once built. Everything like the home they've created together. The loan. Officer called yesterday, Adrian says, catching her hands in his flour-dusted ones. We're approved for the expansion. The space next door can be ours by Christmas. Maya's eyes widen. Adrian, that's wonderful, but I want to make sure we're doing this for the right reasons. He brings her hands to his lips, kisses each, knuckle with reverence. Not because we can, but because we should. Because it serves something larger than ourselves. 6 months ago, such words from Adrian Blackwood would have been unthinkable. Now they're as natural as breathing, proof of the man he's chosen to become. What are you thinking? She asks. Cooking classes for single parents, resume workshops, a small stage for local musicians. His eyes light with the passion she's learned to love. Make it a real community center, somewhere people come not just for coffee, but for connection. The vision steals her breath. This is the man she fell in love with. Not the billionaire or the broken soul who showed up at her door, but this version, the one who sees abundance as something to share rather than hoard. I love you, she says simply, because no other words contain the fullness of what she feels. He kisses her then, slow and deep, and tasting of promises. Around them, the cafe holds the hush of new beginnings, of dreams taking root in rich soil. The first customers arrive at 7, and Maya watches Adrian transform into the person the neighborhood has come to adore. He remembers everyone's names. Their orders, asks about sick pets and job interviews and children's school plays. Mrs. Patterson gets her lavender scone. Tommy bounds in for his chocolate chip cookie before school. You were born for this, Maya tells him during a brief lull, watching him wipe down tables with the same attention he once gave to billion-dollar deals. No. He stops, meets her eyes, across the warm space they've built. I was reborn for this. You gave me that gift. The day passes in a blur of celebration. Former enemies stop by to wish them well. The mayor presents them with a ceremonial key to the city. Local news runs a feature about the former billionaire who chose community over conquest. But for Maya, the most meaningful moment comes at closing time when she finds Adrian sitting with elderly Mr. Chen from down the street, helping him fill out Medicare paperwork with infinite patience. There, Adrian says, pointing to a line on the form. Sign right there, and you should have your prescription coverage sorted. Mr. Chen's weathered hand shakes slightly as he writes. You're a good boy, he tells Adrian in accented English. Your mother would be proud. Adrian's throat works visibly. He's told Maya about his mother, about the poverty and struggle that shaped his hunger for more, about how he lost himself somewhere between survival and success. Thank you, he manages, voice thick with emotion. After Mr. Chen leaves, Adrian and Maya work together to close the cafe, moving with the practiced rhythm of partners in all things. When they finally flip the sign to closed, exhaustion and exhilaration war in Maya's chest. So, she says, settling into his arms in the middle of their empty cafe, how does it feel to own something that makes the world better? Like I'm finally rich, he says. And she hears the wonder in his voice. Really, truly rich. Outside, the city pulses with evening energy. People heading home to families, to lives full of small joys and simple meanings. The kind of life Adrian never thought he wanted until Maya showed him what he'd been missing. What are you thinking about? She asks, noting his distant expression. About that night you found me in my office. If you hadn't come, but I did. She silences him with a finger to his lips. We both made the choice to be here. Best choice I ever made. He spins her suddenly, and her laughter echoes off the walls they painted together. The dreams they built from scratch. When he sets her down, his expression grows serious, tender. Marry me, Maya. The words hang between them like starlight. Adrian, I know we haven't talked about it. I know there's still so much to prove, to build. But I can't imagine a future that doesn't have you at the center of it. He cups her face in his hands. Marry me. Be my partner in everything. Her answer comes without hesitation, straight from the heart he helped her heal. Yes, the kiss that follows tastes like forever, like second chances and true love, and all the possibilities that bloom when two people choose to see each other clearly. Later, walking home through streets that know their names, Maya realizes this is what happiness feels like. Not the desperate high of victory, but the steady warmth of belonging, of being seen, valued, loved for exactly who you are. Thank you, Adrian says quietly, their fingers intertwined. For what? For seeing who I could become before I knew it myself. Thank you, she replies, for becoming him. Above them, stars wheel across the sky, witnesses to love stories and fresh starts and the endless human capacity for transformation. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but tonight is perfect, complete, enough. They are enough.